be good, sometimes maybe shit.
Yep.
There you go, folks. That's a perfect premise. I didn't have an accompanying video to drop to pair with that intro, so that was the best I could come up with right there. And I thought that would be very I'm already misjuggling my words. I thought that would be very apt to play that as we start off our first review of Willow. I'm just messing with you, Cyber. I loved the first episode. I thought it was fine. I liked it. It was good. We got a eclectic guest panel here with us this evening to do the first episode of the Willow Disney Plus series. The basic premise is that it is the sequel to the 1988 guys film Cyber.
Yep.
Kyle, 88. All right. No Val Kilmer in this one, unfortunately. I think it would have been better with Val, but that's just me. I would love to have seen him. Love me some Val Kilmer. Don't know what he's looking like these days though. Could be looking rough. Never know. Either way, I am, of course, the always humbled co-host of the MCU's Bleeding Edge YouTube channel and podcast, Jeff S, aka TrueKnowledge. I am joined by the veteran content creator and YouTuber, my loyal, supportive, good friend and co-host, Cyberneticshark. What's up, Cyberneticshark? Hey, that was perfect, Cyber. You had some audio malfunction and you froze there during that, so it was almost like you were hailing Hitler there for a minute.
Oh, but, awesome. Hey, awesome.
Somebody will, I'm sure that will get recycled on YouTube and somebody will end up catching that so they can screw you up just like they got you before. Did you know about that, Kyle? Kyle,
it's just we're going to make a bunch of Cyberneticshark Kanye memes. So,
Kyle, we have haters. We have people that copy our shows and make fun of us. I didn't know it, but I was looking around on YouTube one day and I found people who do it. They take parts of our shows and they make fun of us.
Well, so basically, he's not Cyberneticshark anymore. He's Cybernetic Yay.
This one this one they had with them, they kept trying to make him out to be a racist. They were trying to like make him sound like he was like, I don't know, it was a bunch of bullshit.
The joys of the internet.
Hey, isn't that cool though? I felt really humbled by that. I was like, wow, people are actually making fun of us. This is awesome. What an awesome level to reach to. So back with us again after we just appeared on the True Believers a couple days ago, and it got heated. Yep. It was really intense. Me and Kyle almost threw down. Kyle, what's up, man? Kyle's back. Kyle, where are you from, baby? Where's Kevin at?
Kevin's still down in Australia, so I'm here flying solo, representing the Fandom Podcast Network. And of course, you guys were kind enough to come on our True Believers podcast. We did that record. It'll be coming out here in a little bit. We covered everything Phase 4. We just kind of gave our general thoughts on Phase 4 of the MCU and what we think might be happening in the future of the MCU.
And Kyle, go ahead. I just wanted to say, Kyle, we're very happy to have you jump on kind of last minute for this episode and whatnot. Thank you for kind of filling a spot for us, because we did lose 2 guests for this earlier today. Ari, please introduce yourself, brother. It's good to see you. Ari, can you hear me?
I think he froze up. Oh, there we go.
Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, so Jeff and I know, like, I have an Instagram page. It's called MCU In Depth. So he knows me from there, and he's been inviting me for a long time, and I'm just happy to be here. Nothing more to say,
He's almost as humble as I am. That's all I like to see. Jasmine, are you with us?
I'm here.
Oh, there she is. What is going on, Jasmine?
Not much.
Are you ready to get your Willow on, baby?
Yes, I am.
You know it. Jasmine is such a trooper. She watched the film and did a whole reaction thing to it, whatnot, and everything, and then watched the episode right after. She's a trooper. Jasmine, thank you very much for joining us this evening. We really appreciate it. And no
problem. You can take my man for that one.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. He's keeping me motivated.
Oh, I see. Well, you know what? That's always good to hear. We like to hear that from the ladies. It's nice to know somebody's out there handling their business. Anyway, so let's just basically, I guess, start off by letting Cyberneticshark kind of jump in and set up the premise of the first film. And then I'll drop the trailer for Willow, which will be my first time seeing it, actually, to be honest with you. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but I've never saw it.
I haven't.
Jasmine, did you see the trailer for Willow?
Yeah, I saw the first one way back when it came out, but I didn't watch any others.
Okay. Kyle, you've seen them probably?
Absolutely.
Are there two of them or one, Cyber?
Are you talking about for the TV series, for the movie?
TV series.
Yeah, there's two of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen both of them.
Okay.
One
All right,
was a
I've got the
teaser
one.
and one was a regular one.
I'll see if I can get the teaser. But you go ahead, though, Cyber, if you would. Would you just give us like a quick breakdown or a quick premise to set up the TV series coming off the film?
Most certainly. So if you're not familiar with the original film, which came out in 1988, directed by Ron Howard, with characters created by George Lucas, basically the premise is there is a child born, Laura Dannon, who is supposed to be of this like magical people, and she's the last of her people, and she is the one that's going to destroy basically the evil that is in the land. And the movie is basically about saving her, taking her and getting her to basically take her to the evil sorcerer to destroy the evil sorcerer, and kind of their journey and what goes on. And we're introduced to characters such as Willow himself, Will Offgood, who is a Newman, and we are introduced to Mad Mardigan, Shorsha, and other great characters that we get to go see through it. Kevin Pollak's character and his Browning friends. And basically that's what the premise of the original film is about saving Laura Dannon and basically being able to destroy the evil that's in the world and create a harmony in the world again, so that basically she is the key to that success. And that's where the show basically starts off. It's now been several years after the events of the end of the first Willow film, going into that.
Hey, Cyber, I just want to add on. I just want to add on to that too, because there was actually a series of books written by famous X-Men writer Chris Claremont called The Shadow War, which ended up being a trilogy of books that were the only other thing that I know of produced in the world of Willow between now and this TV show. But I think those books got thrown out of the like Star Wars canon books got thrown out of the with the bathwater when this new Willow series was announced.
So it's not canon now.
No, those three books are not canon. I don't believe anymore.
So have you read them? Do you know the story of these books?
It's been a long time since I've read them. I know there was a big deal at the time because it was really the only sequel to the Willow movie that we got. And like I said, all three books were written by the famous X-Men writer Chris Claremont, who is probably considered by most to be one of the most famous comic book writers out there. So he wrote those three books. They're called The Shadow War. You can find them pretty much on Amazon or anywhere like that. But it's a different telling of a more teenage Laura Dannon and growing up and meeting her destiny there. But obviously, I think with the events of this TV series, those books don't even count anymore. But if you're looking for something a little bit more in that Willow universe, check those out.
Yeah.
That is actually really interesting. I'm glad you brought that up, Kyle. I had no idea about that at all. And, I love Chris Claremont. Obviously, the stuff he did with X-Men is considered like classic. So, that was a pen that fell out of my ear. Okay, that's cool. Anyways, let's check out one of these Willow trailers real quick. See what we got to work with here. If I can get my technology to work. There we go.
There is a story.
What the frig? Sorry about that.
Of a child destined to be an empress. And the unlikely hero who would protect her.
There is a balance between all things. Light and shadow. Good and evil. When that balance is upset, the universe corrects.
The world needs you again. It needs your magic.
Into the unknown. That's where we must go.
Hell yeah! I'll tell you what. You better believe I'm going to make sure that tonight I'm going to go ahead and play that so I can rip that last shot off that final part of the teaser, so I can screenshot that thing for a thumbnail. It's going to be dope or an intro. First, anybody want to give any quick thoughts? Cyber, you want to start off just on the teaser before we do the trailer?
So I thought that these trailers were, this particular trailer was really done well. It gave us, that actually was the teaser, actually, by the way. That was not the full-length trailer. That was the teaser.
Yes.
And the teaser trailer was okay. It showed us a little bit. It gave us, a showing of Willow. It gave us, a showing of a few of the different characters. Gave us kind of an idea of what was going to be going on. Of course, that beautiful, amazing music that was created for the movie. I absolutely love that song. I think it's fantastic. Every time Willow, that music is coming through my head every time. And so I was very psyched when they were using that music again. So very awesome. And but yeah, overall a decent little teaser trailer. Not the best, but also I thought it did a pretty decent job of giving us a little bit of insight into the TV series.
Ari, what did you think of the teaser trailer really quick? I know that this is your first experience and everything with Willow, but what did you think of that teaser?
I think it's like it's more like for the like teenagers, like the whole show and everything. It's not like very serious show. It's not like very what can I say, adult oriented. I would say it's not like Game of Thrones going on there. But yeah, I like the VFX and stuff. I like it's good.
Okay. And I do think that at least from what I saw from the first episode, it looks like they're kind of in between there. They're not marketing necessarily to children, but they're like also not taking it to like the R-rated rating type place. It's about the same thing as like their Rings of Power. From what I saw in the first episode. But Jasmine, what did you think of the teaser trailer, hon?
The teaser trailer is what I actually is the only trailer I saw. And for what I saw, it did give very much, like Jeff said, the Rings of Power. It was very enticing. It definitely made me want to watch the show. It gave very more Lord of the Rings-esque than opposed to most of the stuff that's on Disney Plus outside of The Mandalorian and Star Wars related shows. So it gave me promise.
Hey, but Andor is really freaking good though, right?
Andor's pretty good, I guess. It's I'm still holding out hope to see how the rest of the show goes. The ending is usually how you know whether or not a show is good, if they stick that landing.
Now, Kyle, you probably saw this teaser right when it first came out. What did you think of the teaser?
Yeah, I saw it on the launch day when they actually launched it on Disney Plus, and I was impressed by it because it was the first thing we had ever seen of this universe since the film on screen. So it was exciting. I'm with Cyber. You hear that music kick in. It's kind of like the Indiana Jones theme where you're taken to that place. The music is so distinctive. I thought this teaser trailer did a really good job of introducing a new generation to the Willow universe and what goes on with it, while still giving all of us of the age who saw the original film in the theaters or seen it, and giving us just enough of what we wanted to see too, to get us intrigued and excited for it. Obviously the Warwick Davis is a huge selling point for this trailer, and his narration is great in it. And I think with as far as the teaser trailer goes, they definitely knew what they were doing here and really did a great job of attracting both new and original Willow fans to it, and without giving away too much of the actual story in itself. So I think as a teaser trailer, it worked really well.
Yeah, and I think it's tricky when you do these teaser trailers because you really have to be careful. When you have to straddle that line, you don't want to give away too much, right? Or overdo it, because if you oversell it too much right from jump, you know how that can go sometimes. But either way, let me go ahead and play the actual trailer. That's actually 2 minutes long. and we can see what you guys think about that, and then we'll get into the episode.
You think you know what is real and what isn't. What is light? What is dark? Now, forget all you know. Come with me. Willow. We're looking for the sorcerer Willow. I was told that once long ago you defeated the forces of evil.
You remind me of your mother.
My dear friend, I thought I could prevent all this. I was wrong.
My brother was abducted. The world needs you again. It needs your magic.
Follow me. We must go beyond the edge of our world, into the unknown.
Willow!
I need your help.
Just like old times. Attack! Running! Horses! Mayhem! Mayhem! Happy to see it.
Our true enemy is still out there, rallying the forces of evil. And the only thing standing in its path is us.
I'm going to enjoy this.
If you're thinking what I'm thinking, so am I.
I doubt that very much. Take him to my tent and make sure he's tied up.
I don't know. See, that kind of sounds like we're on the same page.
When I was a kid, I used to play at being a sorcerer. Visiting strange worlds, fighting monsters. Run! Never thought I'd actually really do it.
What the hell is that? Trolls. I'm so miffed.
We have to hurry.
How will you defeat us? Same as last time. With my friends.
Okay, so same order. Cyber, what do you think, buddy? Good trailer, solid.
This was definitely a way better trailer than that first teaser trailer. I felt it gave a little bit more, screen time to several of the characters. It gave you a little bit more insight into them, kind of what they're going to play. I absolutely love the prisoner guy there. I forget what his name is, but I think he's kind of like the Mad Mardigan of this series. He's kind of like that character. He's funny. He's like that type of character, which I think is really great. And I just thought this was a solid trailer. It definitely made me more interested in the show. It definitely made me more interested in finding out more about these characters and what the story has and lies before us. So yeah, I thought this was a way better trailer than that first one. A really solid trailer.
Okay, and you are, of course, talking about, I believe, Borman, who's played by Amar Chadha Patel. He's a thief and a swordsman who is offered freedom from prison if he joins the quest, which we obviously will get into in the episode. And I want to point out really quick, too, to you, Kyle, really quick. Guess, I'm sure you noticed, right, immediately that, look, what a surprise. Look who's actually in this series from the Falcon and the Winter Soldier Disney Plus series herself. What is her name?
Erin Kellerman, who also was Infinite Nest in the solo film, Star Wars solo film, as well.
She's
gay. The Borman character too is kind of your Mad Mardigan character for this series. In fact, we will learn later on he does have some ties to Mad Mardigan as well.
Okay, excellent. Ari, what were your thoughts on that trailer, brother?
Oh, I thought this was a way better trailer, and it showed a lot more. It showed a lot more darkness. It showed a lot more funny side of the series, and showed like I totally agree with Cyber here on all of what he said.
Okay, Jasmine.
I think the trailer was well done. It definitely alludes to exactly what the market base is when it comes to Willow, compared to coming off with anyone that has a nostalgia from the original film. It definitely has a way of pulling you in, but for For me, it didn't really hit home for me. The teaser is what got me into it, but the trailer probably would have been something that would have kind of swayed me to maybe I watch it, maybe I won't.
That's kind of how I'm feeling about this K person in the studio. It's like, do I really want to talk to this person, or do I really not want to? This could be a Nazi. This could be like my future wife. Like, you never know who this could be. Kay, what's going on? Oh, I guess Kay is the silent type. That's okay. Hey, I thought that could actually be. You never know. That could have been interesting there for a minute, Cyber. Kyle, what did you think of the trailer, brother?
I think they did with this trailer. What I agree with Cyber, they gave you more of the world. They gave you more of the new characters. I think it was a real smart decision for them to not focus so much on the past of Willow, but focus on the new. And I think they did a phenomenal job with this character, with this trailer. Visually is absolutely stunning. You get a little bit more feel for the characters, and I think in the trailer too, they focused on the right characters with the most personality and showed them off in the trailer, because I think that's one of the things with this show is that right now you have so many new characters, you're still trying to learn them, and I think giving us the ones that gave us the most personality in this trailer really worked well for a selling point.
Well said. I would agree with you 100%. And I would say that again, I guess for me, the only, as we head into the actual episode breakdown, the only part that I had struggled with, as I explained in the studio to Cyber and everybody else and to Kyle, was that I guess with the time jump and everything and whatnot, that occurs and everything, it took me a minute to really be able to. Everything seemed to move so quickly right at the beginning of the episode that it was hard for me to really be able to tell who was who character wise at times. You know what I mean? But I'm sure I'll figure it out. As once they actually established the quest, it was a little bit easier to like kind of individually determine who was who. But I think it's really cool seeing Erin Kellyman in this series. I was wondering what we would see her in again. Ari, do you remember her from Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Yeah, I do. Like her acting was more expressive here.
Yeah, she was the
she was criticized for being like having straight face all the time, and
she was the head of the Flag Smashers.
Yes.
That's what she was. But yeah, so anyways, all right, so basically then, as far as the episode itself goes, that's very kind of you, Joss. You're a sweetheart. As far as the episode goes, basically, I guess just to break it down and give a quick depiction of who's who. I wish I had some pictures I could pull up along with this, but I really can't. Obviously, Willow, Offgood, if I pronounced it correctly, is a Newland. He's a dwarf sorcerer. We saw him in the trailers and everything and whatnot. He's going to end up joining the quest to rescue the twin brother of the princess. Now, the princess goes by many names. She is the actress Ellie Danfer. She goes by Dove, Droomhiddle, and basically her actual name is, I believe, Elora Parson, I believe, or something like that. Did I get that correctly?
Elora Danan.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Elora Danan. Yeah, but my handwriting is terrible. Future Empress of the Tin Asleen, disguised as a kitchen maid who is in with Ankh and joins the quest to save him. In love with Ankh. I apologize. And if I mispronounce Ankh, Cyber, please feel free to correct me.
It's Eric.
Eric.
That's Eric with an A?
Yeah, it's Eric.
Okay, well I'll change my A's over to E's now from now on. Ruby Cruz as Princess Kit, who sets in motion the quest to rescue her twin brother, Eric. Erin Kellyan, who plays Jade, a knight in training, and Kit's love interest, who joins the quest. And then, of course, Tony Revolveri as Prince, Gaydon, a young scholar and member of the quest. My handwriting is really bad, man. That must have been when I was visiting the 5 o'clock pre-crack special earlier today, Cyber. Then, as I mentioned earlier,
when aren't you going for the crack special?
Well, listen, you do understand that there really is no 5 o'clock pre-crack special because the crack it's always a crack special with crack every single day, from what I understand.
Exactly. So you should just say you're going to the crack special.
There you go. I shouldn't even distinguish it like that. Dempsey Brick as Prince Eric, and the twin brother of obviously of Kit, who was kidnapped. So this is all based off this premise, I guess, if I understand correctly, where Willow had a premonition that he basically explained to the mother, who I'm not sure if she's the queen now or what, but basically the mother of the two twins, of the Prince Eric and of Kit, and Willow, I guess told her that he had a premonition that this was going to be a repeating cycle kind of deal. And I very much got this like House of Dragon feel almost during this episode. I won't lie. Like I got this massive House of Dragon vibe going throughout the whole first episode. Like this seemed like they were really borrowing off of like a lot of similar tropes in a way. This whole cyclical, almost like say Tolkien, same way that with Rings of Power, that cyclical dynamic of good versus evil returning. Just like we had with Rings of Power, where we had Sauron coming back and the forces of Mordor coming back. So basically, Willow, essentially, you had a premonition, and as we begin the episode, essentially, when we start off, we're essentially introduced to essentially the majority, like of the female characters, who I don't know for sure are going to be the main characters of the series. But they seem to be to some extent. And no, I'm not going to bullshit you. I had a hard time trying to distinguish at times who was who during what, like during some of the scenes that first went on in the first couple of minutes of the episode. But basically, from what I understood and from what I saw, the Gales are like, I guess, the enemy that essentially that ends up, performing the kidnapping that, causes the quest. And when Willow begins, the narrator talks about the child named Alora Dannon, as Kyle, thank you very much, helped me out with, being born, the child of prophecy during a time of dread to save the world. And I believe that the prophecy that essentially Willow surmised was that this would occur again to some extent. This would occur again. There would be a need for this. And at that point, essentially her mother, Queen Baborda, and again, I apologize, folks, I'll work on my pronunciations. Babmorda, essentially, although they thought the war was over coming off of the Willow film from the 80s, Willow's vision and returning home said there would be ancient evil that would rise again and destroy the future empress. Her end would herald a new dark age. As a result, Alora was hidden away, and her true identity was concealed even from herself. It was the only way Sorsha could protect her. And, of course, Kit Tantalos, Ruby Cruz, and Jade Claymore, Aaron Kellyman practiced with their swords. And so, basically, right off the bat, I was getting some serious, lesbian, romance vibes going on with the training session there from Jump. What do you think? What were you thinking about that, Kyle? Were we getting some woman on woman sparks flying from Jump or what?
As I was telling a couple of people before we got started on this, it's sad to me that a character like Kit has now basically become a trope character. I was definitely picking up those vibes. And it just felt like, okay, so we're doing this again, and it's just like we've gotten to the point where that kind of a character like that who turns out to be LGBTQ is one of our main characters, and it's just like, okay, well, we're here we are again with this, and the it feels trope.
Kyle, are you surprised that they actually that they Disneyfied things right from Jump?
No, I wasn't. Honestly, I was not surprised at all. There seems to be a little bit of a twist here that they're working with a little bit. I think the romantic is maybe a little bit more one-sided than not right now. which I find interesting. I'm glad to see Erin Kellerman on my screen. I think she's a phenomenal actress. I loved her in Solo. I thought she was good in Falcon and Winter Soldier, given the role that she was given. I'm liking her to have a chance to kind of expand her horizons here, hopefully with Willow. But yeah, I think with the Kit character and for a lot of other reasons too, it's just right now just feels so completely tropey. And I'm going to say right now, one of the things with this Willow show that is kind of right now floating a little bit in the negative to me, we were talking about how it didn't feel like dark as adult as like Lord of the Rings or even House of Dragon. It feels more to me like some of those young teen adult novels and stuff, like maybe like The Maze Runner or City of Bones, things like that, where they're trying to do it as a young adult type style kind of thing. And I'm like, that's not Willow to me. And that's one of, because of how it's feeling. And I think it's a little bit with the look of it and how they're treating the characters, at least out of the gate, because I think they did not do a real good job, in my opinion, of establishing the characters right out of the gate. And I think it's got some people confused and a little bit like, what's going on here?
I think it's an important point, Kyle. And Cyber, I know you have something to say about that, but real quick, Jasmine, what do you have to say about what Kyle just said? And what did you think of the steamy woman on woman action to start off the show?
Well, to start it off, I didn't even really see it as a romantic interest situation. I just saw it as like two friends sparring. If anything,
that's just because you're only into D. That's the only reason why.
No, I'm into girls too, but still, it might just be that it's unacquainted. Like on one side, someone's feeling something, but for the most part, I just saw sparring. But when it comes to having a queer representation in a show, it's not really a Disney thing. Disney hasn't been doing this a long time. They're just starting to get into it. So calling it tropey is a little off base, because when it comes to any sort of media, you're getting nothing but straight relationships 24/7. So to have something different, and especially when it comes to Lord of the Rings, fantasy-based television shows or media, it is nice to see some representation. It does get a little annoying depending if it's not done right and doesn't feel organic. But at this point, we don't even know what's going on.
Okay. Cyber?
So, I definitely picked up on the sexual tension vibes there too when we first got there, especially how the princess looked into the eyes of Ellen Kellerman while they're sparring, while she's lying on the ground. It was too obvious not to figure out there. So I definitely thought that was very noticeable. And I get why everyone likes that type of thing or what. Some feel that it's unnecessary to start off the series just like that. I think that if you want to wait a little bit further into the series, fine, that's great. If you want to do that, that's great. But at the same time, it's just like, I didn't really need that right off the bat. Because especially when I'm getting to know these characters, I want to get to know the characters before I want to know about their love interest or any other of their story. I want to know who they are. And so I felt that it just was unnecessary right there at the get-go.
Ari, what are your thoughts?
Actually, like Cyber, I picked it off like from the first, like when they're training. So Jade looks at Kit in a way like which is supposed to be like to show that she likes her in that kind of way. And then I initially thought that it was from Jade's side only. And then I guess, Jeff, you haven't seen the second episode yet, right?
No, hey, brother, I keep it real. I never go forward in this series. I don't watch the episodes until we review them. I never go ahead.
Okay. So I guess did it happen in the first episode of the case, Cyber?
No. There was no kiss in the first episode. No.
Okay. So
no spoilers. No spoilers
okay,
now.
No. Okay, so there's no kiss. There's no kiss. Nothing happened till now. So, but yeah, I think it was obvious also, and Yeah, I didn't think it as a negative thing or positive thing. It was just there, so
Well,
I didn't
yeah.
think a lot about it.
And how old are you, Ari?
I'm 24, bro.
You're 24. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's important because it's always nice to kind of distinguish like which generations we're all from and whatnot when it comes to this kind of some of this stuff with Disney. So no, I think Kyle makes a good point. I really think he does. And Jasmine, I think you have to understand that. I think all Kyle's really saying is just that he doesn't have any problem at all with the queer representation or anything like that and any of this stuff. It's more of the timing of it and whatnot, and the how they handle it. And just to start the show off like that and whatnot, it just wasn't very willowy, I guess, if it makes sense. It wasn't really a good sign in a way. Is that fair, Kyle?
It's fair. I feel like I said with Sarah, it feels like, and I've seen it. I have seen this in other shows. It feels like, okay, we've got to get this point out of the way first instead of just getting the natural progression of the character. And I think what bothers me about it is that instead of just writing the character naturally, you're just getting hit over the head with a hammer with this aspect of it. And I guess it's because too, it's a topic that's so prevalent in society right now. And sometimes I think the writers with certain topics feel like they have to give it that extra oomph or that extra hammer instead of just letting it progressively flow naturally into the story and into the character. And yet we get this right here where it's like right off the bat you can tell it. And overall I thought the character of Kit just felt very basic and plain, and I think they gave other characters much more character development just with less screen time than what they did with Kit. And I'm hoping that right now she's probably my least favorite character of the show because she just feels so just like, oh, this is character 1A out of the writing book. We're just going to put this character in and there you go. Instead of actually giving this character some development and some interesting things. So like I said, we'll see what her path takes her, but because I'm not going to throw complete judgment out just based off of one episode. So let's see how the series runs its course. But right now it's off to this very generic, what feels like a little bit of a generic character start for that particular character.
Well, in this scene, it is important that we do get, at least I get my first taste for me, and I'm sure you all did too, because I don't remember this being a part of the film at all. The barrier is mentioned. Their adventures that they dreamed of before of going beyond the barrier. Now the barrier, I'll be honest with you, I was never able, and we'll talk about this, but I was never able to flush out concrete exactly what the purpose of the barrier really is. Maybe I missed something or something like that. I have no idea, but no, you couldn't tell either, Cyber.
They didn't flush it out yet. They just gave kind of like a brief idea. They didn't flush it out.
Yeah.
So is it not a thing in the movie, like in the first movie?
No, it's not. It's not a thing in the movie. Cyber, at least out of the first episode, what I got was the feeling is the barrier was created about the same time they hid Elora Danan to protect her from the outside forces of evil. It was more about protecting Elora Danan than anything else. And I really think they were making a big deal out of something they're not going to make a big deal out of for the rest of the show, to be honest. But we'll see.
Now, who would have had the power to erect the barrier? It would be my question. Would it have been that lady wizard or whatever from the first film?
Mm-hmm. I think her and Willow together probably erected the barrier.
Okay, that makes sense. So from there, beyond the barrier, we end up moving forward to where we end up basically seeing, the princess is told the queen wanting to get her dressed up because the royal party's coming up from Gala Dorn arriving soon. As for the prince, it is believed he is hunting in the Western Wood. Instead of hunting, Eric is busy making out with Elora. She's surprised. He's trembling because she didn't think he felt that way about her. It was really a cute I actually kind of like that. That was actually kind of sweet. I thought that was kind of sweet. Like she's saying about how there's a lot of rumors about him and everything and whatnot. I guess he must be like a womanizer or something. I have no idea. But he's like, oh, I'm not like that anymore for you, baby. Like I'm a different guy now. I like that. That was pretty funny. I found that amusing. so Eric says he loves her. Basically, there's a lot of romantic stuff going on in the beginning of the episode, without question. A lot of relationship type stuff going on. Essentially, there's an interruption to this whole, make out, love fest or whatever. When essentially Jorgen Case tells Eric that King Haster was seen riding into the Vale. His mother wants him to be presentable when they arrive. Blah, blah, blah. So essentially, what we end up finding out or seeing is that essentially we're going to end up having like a forced marriage, if I understand correctly, where you're basically going to have now Cyber or Kyle or anybody if they want to jump in, who exactly is it that they're marrying off exactly? It's the prince and go ahead.
It's Prince Graydon, and they're marrying him to Kit. Is what they're basically it's a political move to strengthen these two kingdoms together and bring them together as one. Obviously, Kit is completely against it, and we find out. Of course, this is where we find out the prince is, of course, actually just Flash Thompson from the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies.
Yes, essentially he is. And this is where I start getting the House of the Dragon vibes too. Is right around here. I'm like, oh, we got forced marriages too and everything and whatnot. Like, here we go. But basically, Kit's pissed off. She's not too happy about this whole situation. She's not having it. She's not down with marrying this guy, and I don't blame her, I guess, right? But she ain't even playing it, and she's being very clear about it. And really, I mean, from there, I mean, it's all kind of just suppositional at that point. Like, she actually meets the prince and she kind of has an attitude with him and everything and whatnot for no reason. We don't even really know him yet, and she's kind of like giving him the cold shoulder. So before we get into the actual attack and the dogs and everything and whatnot, and the Gales and the actual kidnapping, Jasmine, what did you make out of, I guess, on your own? What did you make out of the scenes we got with Kit and the prince and the sort of like the queen being a part of the scene there? That whole part before we had the attack. What did you think of those scenes?
It was giving me very much Brave, if you've seen that Disney film. It was
pulling that myself.
Huh?
I said I was getting that. I was thinking that myself when I watched that. I was like, this feels like I've seen this before, and it registered me that it was registering from Brave.
Yeah, and the way that the mom was being very strict and overbearing and controlling, it was giving me Brave. And definitely when she started being rebellious and kind of acting out at the dinner, it definitely showed more of her character. It showed that she is trying to not stick to the roles in which the family of stuck her in showing that she wants to be her own person, her own warrior. She wants to venture out and not be confined to a marriage to someone she doesn't have a emotional connection to, which is kind of interesting because you normally don't see that outside of like traditional movies where they'll be that outright rebellious. So I did enjoy that part. And seeing the son, the prince, kind of act out a little bit, and he was about to do something. He was going to throw a knife at the apple on top of the twin prince's head, but then Daddy came in coughing, and he immediately cowered.
Okay,
that was it.
Okay. No, I agree with you 100%. Cyber.
Assuming same question.
Yes, sir. Please.
About that sequence. I thought it was an okay section of the episode. It was interesting how they're kind of, they're playing the classic, I feel, royal family like ties and stuff like that with what was going on there. I honestly don't care too much for the gal that's playing the princess, Kit. I don't think she's really anything that great, even off this first episode. She's not giving me good vibes. And that might downplay to like what Kyle was saying, that, you know, just maybe she's not getting enough character development or whatever. But at the same time, I just didn't care too much for her. So I thought that her whole sequence there was kind of like just childish, and it just didn't seem like a true royal type of person. Like, she's just as mature as her twin brother. And that's the kind of vibe I got from her. And that whole sequence where she's going to throw the knife at the apple on top of the head, or having, you know, Tony Rivoli do that. I thought that was kind of interesting how that kind of played out, where, you know, he's like, Tony's kind of going to do it, but then, you know, it gets squashed because the father walks in. And I thought that, you know, that was played out kind of interesting. I absolutely love Tony Rivoli. I think he's absolutely hilarious. I loved him as Flash Thompson. And anything else I've seen him in, I always thought he was really fantastic. And so I'm enjoying his character so far. And, you know, I thought that it was interesting how Joanne Worley, who once again reprised his role as Sorsa from the original film, playing their mother, I thought was really awesome. And I thought that she did a really good job. I liked her, how she was like still kind of that, like, she still had that presence she had. She was like, she's still a little bit of evil, but at the same time, there's good in her too as well. So I really enjoyed how she played that off, and with, you know, talking to the children and stuff like that, talking with her daughter, telling her to put on the dress and stuff like that. And I thought, you know, she had a very valid point. You know, this is for the kingdom. You need to do this. You know, that's just how the royal family works. And I thought that was really done well as well. So I thought it was a pretty interesting set of sequences there that, you know, kind of help kind of vibe up the episode a little bit.
Okay. Kyle, your thoughts?
I think with this scene, what they were trying to establish was a couple of things. Obviously, I agree. It's great to see Saoirse back on the screen, having her back in the character. You can see where she's evolved, but she's still got the spirit of that same character. But you're also talking about the children of Mad Mardigan, and I think that was kind of one of the aspects of this particular scene that they were trying to show, was that each one kind of had a little bit of their dad in them. I think the prince, because he's a little more mischievous and a little bit more playing with emotions and stuff, where Kit is a little bit more like their mother was in the original film, but also has that warrior spirit that Mad Mardigan had as well. So I think it was very interesting to set those dynamics up and kind of see what's working within the royal family. And like you, this is probably the closest thing to like some Game of Thrones, because they're playing the political games within this segment too, as well as, you know, Kit wanting to get married off, but it's being married off more for politics than it is for anything else, which in a lot of these fantasy movies, that tends to be and shows that tends to be what happens in a lot of cases. But I think it was good setup to get us kind of a feel of what the family dynamic is going on with Saoirse and her two kids, and also to kind of show us we got a little bit of character development with the Elora Danan character. We've seen her jealousy when the prince is flirting with those women from court and things like that. So it gave us a lot of really good little character moments within the scene, even with Erin Kellerman's character, as you know, we're kind of learning that she's kind of much more focused on her future as trying to become a knight than almost anything else. That's she's got that laser focus going on. So you've got a lot of, this is probably the area I think of this episode where we got the most character development for this particular episode.
Okay. Ari, what did you think of that section of the episode, brother?
The distinguishing part for me, like in these scenes, usually the prince is usually into it, and you know the princess is usually not into it. And in this scene, I felt like the prince was like more not into it. Like he was just there because the king wanted him to be there, and he didn't want to like marry her either. And it kind of felt like Kit actually didn't care much. Like she didn't wanted it, but she was also like, okay, I will marry him, I don't care, kind of vibes. And yeah, Like I think
Okay.
I don't need to repeat something which is already being said, has already been said. So yeah.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, my friend. Jasmine,
Yeah.
what do you think, my friend?
Can you
Jasmine.
can you re-ask a question?
Yes, I was wondering what your thoughts were on basically the sort of, I guess, the ceremony almost where the prince comes in, and before there's the actual attack and there's the kidnapping in between the girl on girl fight training scene in the beginning. There's sort of like the period where they kind of flush out some of the character aspects of Jade and of the prince and essentially the princess, I guess, or the queen and everything and whatnot. Kit.
Are you referring to the dinner
The
itself? Or you
dinner,
referring?
yes.
Oh, I already say that?
Did you already?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then I apologize. My bad. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to double hit you up. Okay, so basically, then at that point, we do get the actual attack, where we get the actual kidnapping, and I guess I don't want to leave it out in terms of what I took out of these scenes or whatever before the actual attack and whatnot. Basically, I just thought it reminded me of almost like high school in a way. Like it was like just like it was like a rom-com, but without the com, for like a good 15 minutes or whatever. You know what I mean? Like all that was going on was like love and flirting and people kissing each other and breaking people's hearts and all that kind of stuff. And I started to get confused after a while. But basically, before we actually end up getting the attack, we do actually have a part during that scene where the queen addresses the group to remind them about the night vanquishing Bavmorda's legions and freeing Ter Asleen from its curse. She reveals that Prince Graydon will marry her daughter tomorrow and will finally unify Ter Asleen and Galadorn. She wants them to rule until the true Empress Elorda Danin returns. Again, she hears someone telling her that the Gales are coming. Saoirse goes to the dungeon to talk to one of the prisoners. He thinks she wants him to tell her not to force her daughter into a loveless marriage. She doesn't think she has a choice. Either way, from there, we essentially end up to Jade finally telling her that she decided to train with the Shining Legion, which I don't even really know what that is, to be completely honest with you, but I'm sure they'll probably flush that out later on. And at that point, we get the attack. So, we actually have the kidnapping. And at that point, after the whole, conversation about the muffins and everything and whatnot with Kit and Graydon and everything and whatnot, we actually have like some battle scenes and everything and whatnot, where we see the attack. We have dogs, and I believe that there's actually soldiers too, or they could just be dogs, but I thought there were soldiers as well. And there's a fight outside, with essentially the army, that they have versus like whoever these intruders are. I guess the Gale or whatever they're called, the Gales. So essentially, Saoirse ends up releasing the prisoners so he can help with the fight, which is very, I guess, reminiscent to the first film. With I forgot the name of the character, the Queen's husband or whatever, or the Val Kilmer character from the first movie. Basically, essentially throughout this battle, there's like a shape-shifting kind of monster that we do see. There were some interesting creatures that we saw in this episode that I did think were pretty cool. From a visual standpoint, they were done pretty well. But basically, we have some pretty solid battle scenes, which I thought were very reminiscent to sort of Rings of Power level. And not anything too crazy, but pretty solid. It ends up, of course, being Dorman, I believe, that is the prisoner that ends up getting released, and he ends up becoming a part of the actual quest. But essentially, throughout the battle, they end up essentially, having the prince kidnapped. And at that point, essentially, the essentially the Gales kidnap Eric. They kidnap Kit. Well, they kidnap Eric, I believe, right? Yeah, they don't kidnap
Eric.
They kidnap Eric.
Yeah, just Eric. That's what I thought. And so at that point, right from there, we go into this whole scenario in this scene where it's explained, the Willow's prophecy and the sort of like the team for the quest is put together. People start to stand up and declare that they're willing to be a part of it and whatnot and everything. And at that point, it's made clear that they need to find Willow. They need, I guess he's the last sorcerer, right, of this realm, whatever you call this universe or whatever. I don't really know the name of it. Besides Willow. So, Cyber, you tell me, what did you think of the action scenes that we got finally during this part, during the kidnapping and everything and whatnot? What did you think of the battle scenes? I found them to be very dark, personally. Maybe that was just my TV or something like that, but I found them to be hard to, it was a little dark for me to be able to tell what was going on sometimes, but it looked pretty good. What did you think of the whole kidnapping scene? And then going into the forming of the team for the quest.
So the action sequence there with the Gales was done really well. I really enjoyed the action sequence. I like how it started, where it has basically kind of like things. The knights are falling down into the ground. Also, we see a few of the Gales. The one big ass Gale that comes down, he's got like a cage on his head, which was really badass. I really liked that. I thought that was really cool. And I thought that, the whole sequence was really well choreographed. I thought there was a lot of great action there. Alan Kellerman getting in there and kicking butt. You had the Prince doing that. You had, pretty much George Bull then allowing the guy's name, Agar, whatever his name is. I forgot. Letting him come out of his cage, the dungeon, and coming out to help fight. And he's kicking butt. And
Borman.
The whole sequence, thank you. Gorman was really awesome. And overall, I just thought it was really well choreographed. I liked how it gave us a few images of different Gale characters. We got that like bird that turns back into that human-looking creature, and fighting against Alan Kellerman, and going against Kit. And you just have some really great swashbuckling action there going on. And then them actually kidnapping Kit or Eric was really awesome. I thought they did really well. I think it was so quick. I barely noticed it. Like I was just like, I know it happened, but it like was so quickly done. I could see it. But yes, it was very visually dark. I could see that. I guess, having certain type of TVs might make it darker looking. So I could definitely see why it would seem darker. But yeah, it was a very dark imaging, but I still think that it did a pretty good job of being very clear. And then after, Eric being kidnapped and them going to kind of build this like party to go save him, I thought was really done well too. I like how, right off the bat, Kit says, I'm going to go after my brother. And Sorsha's like, yes, you are, yes. Like right off the bat, I was like really surprised. And then that kind of forming that group and stuff, it was kind of similar to, I feel, in the original film where, Warwick Davis is, basically having to kind of create a caravan himself to go, to take Laura Dan into the humans to, basically protect her, to get her out of the Newland village. And basically like how, they basically start picking people, and then the one gets picked. He's like, he's got to come with us, which was really funny. And so I feel that was kind of similar to how they did this kind of where, all of a sudden they're like, okay, I'm going. And then, okay, I'll go. And then, I'll definitely go, and basically I think board going was really one of the best parts about it, because that Mad Mardigan feel was just perfect for this quest. So I was very happy that he was a part of that, group of people going after Eric. So I thought it was all done really well. I thought it was really enjoyable, and it kept me in the episode and gave me some action. I really enjoyed it.
Excellent. Ari, what did you think of the battle scenes? What did you think of the fight scenes? Were they any good?
Yeah, they were good, but I had some issues with the the how she picked the. I think his name is Bowman.
Yes.
Am I right? Yeah. So like the queen comes and just tells him like he's in his shackles and I don't know how many years he's been in prison and he has no like bitterness in him, nothing. Like he just comes, oh you have to go, and like okay I'm going, like he needs me, like nothing else. Like he just picks up, goes and like. But I guess she later like the show itself later kind of defines his character much well, so it kind of fades. And initially I also felt like the soldiers were dying pretty easily and like only the kids were fighting, but they kind of faded it a little also, like during the fight, because everyone kind of got beaten. But yeah, soldiers were like dying and like all these kids were like turn, turn. They were like unbeatable initially. So yeah.
So
So these were little issues. I thought like okay, but yeah, it was not that bad. It was good. The VFX was obviously great. The Spike guy was great. The guy who was like teleporting was awesome. Like he was like teleporting and appearing, and that guy was awesome.
So basically, then Borman should have had some rat bites on his ass or something, or like some. He should have been.
Yeah.
He should
Yeah,
have.
it just happened so fast. Like okay, yeah, we need you, and like okay, he goes there. Yeah.
Well, you tell me, Kyle. Is it again? I just watched the movie today for the first time in 25 years, and then I watched the episode. Is it just me, or they really are trying to like follow some of the same tropes from the same film with how they're going about the story, right?
Well, I think because it is a sequel series that they are trying to have those tying connections. Obviously, for a lot of reasons, they can't have Val Kilmer in the show, mainly his health and the fact he can't really speak anymore because of what he went through with throat cancer. But with this whole fight sequence, we're kind of leaving out just a little bit of what was leading into the fight sequence, because you had a couple key things. You had sort of have that conversation with Borman down in the dungeon where we kind of start getting, okay, this character has some ties to Mad Mardigan. What's going on here? You've got Kit, which had tried to convince Erin Kellerman's character to go with her because she was leaving because she didn't want to get married. And we have this moment where we realize Erin Kellerman's character is really, you think she's just all head over heels over Kit, but she's much more about her duty and her own goal as being a knight. So you've got all those things coming together as these creatures then invade the castle. And one of the things I gotta say, and I think Cyber would agree with me on this, Willow's creatures are so unique and so well done that even in shadow, and I agree with you guys too. I think that was filmed a little dark, and I wonder if that wasn't intentionally done just to help with some of the VFX budget here. But the creatures are so unique looking and so interesting. They're not just this classic look of these type of characters. They really go the extra mile when it comes to this with Willow. I think the fight sequence was great, and I think everything within that was very well done. And then when you get kind of the selection of the caravan that's going to go rescue Eric, we see Saoirse kind of go back to what her original ways were, which is a warrior for her mother, and you got to take the mission on, and she realizes that's what Kit needs. She sends Borman because of the fact of she believes in him as far as what he feels he owes to Mad Mardigan, as far as also protecting her daughter. Obviously, you have the king sending his son because he needs to go on this mission, and then obviously Erin Kellerman's going at the request of the queen herself. So I think they brought everybody in, fitting in together, including the addition of Dove or Lord Dannon, as she was kind of following them out into this because she wants to go rescue the love of her life. And I think they brought it all together real well.
Yeah, because Quit was going to leave, right? So at that point, Kit, she was going to take off and basically just head for the barrier or like go,
go explore, go find the world.
Sure. I think that's really good that you mentioned that, Kyle. I'm glad that you did bring that up. That is important, I think, too. You're right. I do think that not only does it reconnect, but it also does kind of tie the story of the episode together. You know what I mean? Like, in a way. But so Kyle, the same thing with you then. What did you think of the kidnapping, of the attack? That whole sequence, and then the shaping of the council, of the quest and everything and whatnot, that selection process?
Like I said, I think they did a very good job of establishing why each character was selected, and I think there were all very strong reasons for that. I think again a little bit of the twist with Kit being the one that's staying behind, and you've got Eric as the one that's getting kidnapped. So they're kind of twisting that around a little bit, but it makes sense with what they're trying to do with the character of Kit. I'm guessing as well, because I think in the long run that's the character that probably has the most growth to go through in this series. But I think it all felt very natural, and I think, like I said, having Borman's ties to Mad Mardigan and what's going on there, I think they did a phenomenal job of building that and having it be Eric who's kidnapped. And like I said, the fight scene was very well done. It was a little bit of a dark, but I think that was done intentionally. If you go look at the trailers we watched at the beginning of the show, I think you'll see more in light battles later on in the episode. But I think because we're still trying to get a fear factor of these new creatures, that's why one of the reasons why they use the darkness as well. So
I think you make a good point too, that they do a really good job with their creatures. They're very distinguishedly looking. They're very unique. To me anyway. Jasmine, what are your thoughts?
I think that mostly the fight was pretty enticing. They did a really good job at delivering at a typical like medieval fight scene, but keeping it dark enough and foggy enough so that you couldn't see any imperfections with CGI if they had any. I think that was deliberate. I do agree with you guys on that. And it did kind of come out of nowhere, because when you had the queen go downstairs to talk to Dude, he did jump on the bandwagon pretty fast. And he was very clean for somebody that was chained up for a long period of time. So I have a feeling she was giving him the snoo, because there's no way that man's that clean and that fine in that dungeon for that long. That makes no sense. And that willing, just because she asked. That makes no sense.
Hey, you never know. Who knows? You never know, right?
Hey, I mean, but like, still, they did a really good job, and the monsters were very captivating. The way that they moved out of the way of a sword swipe and everything, the back bend and then twisting, back down into like an animal stance, was pretty unique and different, especially when you got to see their face. So they did a really good job with that. That's what kept my attention, was the attention to detail and the choreography.
Okay. Well said. So, based off of the kidnapping, essentially, at that point, after, they assemble the quest, they assemble their squad, essentially, who ends up essentially going, for the team, essentially ends up being, Ballantine offers to go, only for Jorgen to say he should stay. He's the commander. Sorsha agrees he should go instead. And yeah, Sorsha looked really badass. She really did in that battle. She did, without question. Jade says she'll go too. King Haster wants to send Graydon with them. Sorsha wants the prisoner Thraxus to go with them, since he has been beyond the barrier before. She agrees to pardon his crime, so he quickly agrees. They're going to need a sorcerer, and there was no one left in Nulawin. She thinks he's expecting them because it is happening like he said it would. In private, Sorsha thought they could keep the evil out by forbidding magic, and Allura disappeared. So essentially, they're saying right there that Sorsha basically did erect the barrier for that purpose, to keep the evil out, the forbidding magic. So Willow thought evil would eventually find a way to get in, and magic would be the only thing that could save them. Sorsha tells her that Bab Morta's blood and spirit survived in Sorsha, Kit and Eric. Willow thought it would return and destroy Terazleen. Sorsha saw it last night too. Of course, she then urges her daughter to be careful because they have enemies without and within. And from there, Ballantine gives Jade the gift sword he had made for her, which was very nice. I thought it was very cute. And they basically end up taking off. And if I remember correctly, the team ends up essentially being, Dove, Kit, and Jade, and then of course, what's his name? Bomb Boom or whatever his name is. I guess he has a different name. They just said a minute ago. The prisoner. Basically, he ends up joining the squad. And who am I missing here? Cyber. You get. Does Tony Rebel Rary, Prince Graydon end up joining the squad?
Yes.
He does. Yes, that's what I thought. Borman, and then essentially, of course, we know Eric has been kidnapped. So they go, I guess, essentially to pass the barrier to be able to seek out Willow. And there's more character building throughout this entire period. There's some humor. There's some interesting, I guess, information to kind of tie the story together and explain some different things that maybe, like, we haven't been given so far in the episode yet. So far, they talk about the barrier at one point. There's different opinions as to what the barrier is about, why it's there, who made it, whatever. And essentially, they end up in a situation where they're essentially attacked by, I'm assuming it's the Gales. And there's actually a really funny spot where one of the Gales during like this attack or this with them being chased on horseback, he recognizes Borman and he's like, "Aren't you supposed to be dead?" And you're like, and Borman's like, "Nah, that's not me, man. Like, I'm somebody. You're thinking of somebody else." And like hits him or whatever, and whatnot, and like knocks him off his horse and shit or whatever. What's that? Now they get chased. Borman is able to like tell his horse to stop or whatever, whatnot, or something like that, and command the other horses, and knows where they're at, so they're able to like jump off what they think is a cliff, but it lands them right into water, basically, so they're safe. They get away from their attackers, and at that point, if I understand correctly, they basically go from there, I think, to the barrier. Now, as I said, they jump off the cliff, they end up in the water. There's some more kind of humor, asking Thraxus what he was saying. He says he was just saying stop. And of course now we had our first death at this point, right? Because right when like he's literally warning them like that they've got to take shit seriously past the barrier. I believe it's basically I'm trying to think of the name of the elderly the older gentleman that takes that arrow right when they're first attacked.
And no one talks about them after that scene.
What's that? What's that, Harry?
I'm saying like no one talks about his death after that scene.
Oh no,
that's
they never do.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, that's interesting that they never mentioned that either. They never do mention.
He seemed like a guy who was like from like for them for a long time. Like he says like he's like a son to me, Aaron, and like then he dies and no one ever mentions it.
You're right. Yes, and now they do cross the barrier at that point, and basically after like an earthquake, as they're trying to, I think they were trying to cross like this precipice that was almost like a part of the barrier. Thraxus makes it clear that the barrier was built for Elora Danon. People say she is dead, but they think that she will return one day to unite the world against the force of darkness. Basically, at that point, they try to get past this gorge. As they begin walking across this fallen tree, there's like an earthquake, and they end up getting across it, but there's a message on the wall about the Eternal One, who is described as the healer of worlds. When he awakes from his slumber, the harbinger of the Wormen will come. Dove almost falls through the precipice or through the this like separation almost in the mountain due to the earthquake. She manages to pull herself up, of course, on the other side. They continue through the barrier. Essentially, at that point, right before Dove can tell Kit. Jorgen is the one that takes the arrow. He tells them that they're all in this together or they will not survive. And Jorgen takes the arrow, gets killed, never gets mentioned again. They're attacked by bone reavers. I guess they must be a part of the gale. And from that point on, once they get past, again, that whole episode and whatnot and everything, and Dorman's able to help them through it and whatnot, they actually do end up eventually reaching, wherever the hell Willow's at, which I believe is, I'm trying to think of what that little city or whatever it's called that he lives in is called again. Kyle or Cyber, do you know what is Willow's like little home city or whatever called?
I don't remember offhand. Do you, Kyle?
I think it was the same. It was basically the same as their the name of the race.
Newrick.
Yeah. The Newlands, I thought it was called the Newlands.
Yeah. I think you're right too. I think it is the new ones, yes. So eventually they end up catching up to the Willow right there. Willow kind of has like one of his friends there pretending to be Willow at first and everything and whatnot, and there seems to be like a little bit of a pain in the ass issue there. But Willow finally does present himself, explains that he can read the thoughts of people apparently, and so he knows who this really is, and he actually is the one at that point that actually says to essentially to Alora Dannon or whatever that's who she is, that she's not Dove or whatever whatnot, that he knows who she really is, and basically at that point, he tells her flat out, I know who you are. You are, of course, the child of the prophecy, and you are Alora Dannon. And that's it. Basically, the series kind of like, dies off there after Willow kind of just does a little bit of a speech. But one thing I want to mention too also is that as they're trekking before they do end up actually getting chased and they do cross the barrier, the princess and the prince actually kind of get along, and they have like a touchy moment at one point where they actually, the prince gets a chance to actually say, hey, I didn't want to marry you either. Like, I felt like it was a bad situation. Like, it wasn't really right for you to have to like marry me, not even knowing me and everything and whatnot, And she kind of like realizes that he's a human being all of a sudden, which I thought was kind of poignant. But now, if I left anything out in any of that, feel free, guys, to to jump in and point out whatever you want to. But Kyle, throughout that whole part of the episode, basically, I'd say probably the third of the episode, what would be your analysis on all that?
So I look at this kind of like the final third of this episode. This is where I gotta say some of my biggest frustration with the episode came, because you have them leaving to go on the quest. They discover Dove, Alora Dannon following them, and you have some moments with her where Kit's just making absolute fun of her. She's just another one of her brother's trophy people and doesn't believe all the stuff she says about being in love with her brother and stuff like that. Kit's an ass. Let's just get that out of the way right now. Kit's an ass to her. She was an ass to the prince. We start seeing her realize that there's a little more to the prince than meets the eye, which is great. But we get a little bit of character development from each character. Then we get where they wake up in the morning. Dove is left, and they don't just kind of seem inconsequential about it. Okay, whatever. She'll leave with that. They cross the barrier through the gate area that Borman knows and Jonas knows. But then you see Alora, who's crossing over this log, and we start getting our first indication there's more to this girl than meets the eye, because she's just able to walk right through the barrier without any issue. So we start going, okay, maybe we're putting a little 2 and 2 together here. Then of course, we have a little bit of, they cross over the barrier. Jonas is actually killed right off the bat as he's trying to warn him. We kind of go through that fun little segment with the bone people chasing them down. the fun they have there. Then they discover Willow. Willow's kind of playing some of the stuff that Willow did in the film when we first saw him, where he's kind of trying to trick people and play a little bit of mind games with them and stuff, sleight of hand instead of actual magic. And he's making the comment about reading their minds and stuff like that. But to me, this Cyber, I don't know about you, but this is where I got very frustrated. The reveal of who Elora Danan is should have been bigger in scope than what they basically did at the end of the episode. Oh, you're Elora Danan. That's it. And that felt very anticlimactic, considering the importance of Elora Danan.
Okay, so I have a question. Like, who is Elora Danan? Like, she was in the first movie, I guess, right?
She was a baby in the first movie. She was the baby that was to be the ultimate empress. She was discovered by Willow, put in his protection, and she was kind of like the MacGuffin of the whole film. Everybody was going after Elora Danan, things like that. When the movie ends, she's still a baby. So
the time jump is
and Sorsha.
So the time jump is not that big.
The time jump's probably about 17, 18 years, is my guess.
Yeah. So we have never seen, like, she was the promised one, or like she was a Harry Potter.
Yeah.
So
she was the child of prophecy.
Yeah. So, but she never came. It never came. Like in the movie, it never came to the point when she had her glory. Or
no.
Oh no, not even close.
No, and they decided to not even tell her who she even was. Is what they're saying in the series. But Cyber, if you want to bounce off of Kyle, go ahead.
Yeah. So to comment on what Kyle said about kind of how just all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're Elora Danan, I do agree that was kind of just like dropped. It wasn't really, a huge spoiler or huge like it wasn't. You were waiting for that surprise type of deal where they do that in some film shows, where they talk about a particular character that they're going to show at some point, and then all of a sudden they pop up, kind of like what they did with Daredevil, She-Hulk, where they kept building it up until they finally popped him into the sequence. That's that was kind of building up. This was like first episode. Oh, we're already out of the bag. We're already going to tell this is Elora Danan. She's been there the whole time. It is kind of very much of it was a little bit of a letdown. I agree with Kyle there that it just, it sucked. But at the same time, that trivial type of thing there for me, it wasn't too big of a deal. But overall, yes, I definitely can see where Kyle's coming from.
Jasmine, before we let you go, hon, what were your final thoughts on that first third of the episode?
I think that are you referring to the reveal at the end?
The reveal at the end, the crossing of the barrier, the chase scene with the hail or whatever.
Honestly, I think all of it together gave it started off as a good episode when you come to that peak. When it comes to going from the chase scene to the reveal after finding out that he's still up to his old tricks again, even though he knows magic, it's kind of good and bad because, like, you kind of want to know that a character has matured, and it just seems like he's still in that same wheelhouse where it can be kind of endearing for some characters, but for him it wasn't what I was expecting when I got the reveal. But we already knew he was going to show up. When they revealed that she was the princess, I was kind of disappointed because I was kind of hoping it was the girl from Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like, I was starting off the whole episode because when you think of the original film, the baby was redheaded. How is she blonde?
Maybe she dyed her hair.
With what? Coconut water? Like, no, it just didn't make sense to me. So that reveal was very much a letdown. Because she didn't know. She thought she was a peasant girl type situation. It's just, it gave us, well, it gave me very much the old Snow White, Cinderella cliche, which pulled me out of it.
I see.
Which kind of brought down the episode for me, because everything in the episode comes to a pinnacle when it comes to the end. And what makes a good episode is what your conclusion is at the end of the episode. And that conclusion just was very unsatisfying.
But it could still be saved, though, if episode 2 and 3 are better.
It's the first episode. So, yeah, it's just for first episode. It's not horrible, but it was anticlimactic.
Okay. Well, Jasmine, before I get to you, Ari, and get your opinions, Jasmine, since we have to go ahead and send you off, would you like to go ahead and plug anything? And besides that, let us know. I think you're actually going to be basically like unveiling your rebranded YouTube channel here soon, right?
Yes. Which is Jazzy Nerdy Girl Reacts. And yeah, I'm currently editing my first video for the Willow movie reaction. So I'll be having that starting up soon. And if anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, that is Jazzy Productions.
Okay, excellent. And we will make sure that about that. No, and Jasmine, I promise next time you come on here, we'll make sure that we go ahead and pull your YouTube channel up real quick before we send you off so people can take a look at it, okay?
All right.
All right, well, you have a good night, dear.
All right, bye, you guys.
Take care.
Take care. We'll see you next time.
Au revoir. Arrivederci. Ciao.
All right, so you're last there, Mr. Ari. What are your thoughts on the final third of the episode, my friend? What did you think of the whole crossing the barrier, meeting Willow again? Well, meeting Willow for the first time for you. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, I don't have any big notes, but I have a lot of questions. So it came after, like, the movie came after the, like, original trilogy, right? Like Star Wars original trilogy. So how big was it? How big was Willow?
It wasn't that big. They only had the one film. It did okay money, but then they never really followed up on it. So it was one of those movies that got a cult following, really, because it was George Lucas involved and a lot of other things. But it was actually a very hard movie to find, even on DVD or Blu-ray, for many years, and up until maybe about 3 years ago, Cyber, when it finally got an updated Blu-ray and DVD release that came out physical and also on iTunes.
Yeah, so it didn't get its official first Blu-ray release until 2018. DVD sales, I believe, plummeted pretty well for it after its initial release in like the early 2000s. So, and I don't believe they put out a re-release of it on DVD until when they just put out this new Blu-ray edition. So, yeah, it was hard finding it unless you found it on VHS.
And I guess it was a precursor to, and I guess it was a precursor to this series, like releasing it to the Blu-ray, because they must be planning it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The movie is a prequel to the TV series. Yeah.
Because how the plot of this movie goes, like the way you are telling me, it sounds like they were like prepping it for like this character Elora to be the main character, like Luke Skywalker in the later films, but they never made those sequels. Like they just stopped at Willow. It feels like that. Like they show you that there will be a promised one, and they never followed with it until now.
To be honest with you, I don't think there really is a perfect explanation for that. To be honest with you, I think that when it boils down to it, I think that this is just something where this would Kyle, would you say that this is almost like a cult classic in a way? Like,
I think this is a cult classic, and I think if we wouldn't have had Disney Plus, where Disney's looking to add content as are all the streaming services, we probably don't get this Willow series. But because Disney has Disney Plus and they're looking for content on it, and obviously they got Willow as part of the license to Willow as part of the purchase of Lucasfilm, which kind of everybody kind of forgot about in there. Disney had this property that fits perfectly for doing something with Disney Plus. If there was no streaming or Disney Plus, we probably wouldn't get this Willow series.
Good point. Yeah. So basically, no, go ahead, Ari.
But like, do you think like that the movie was initially planned as a trilogy or something, like a bigger series, and it just canceled because Willow was not big enough?
I think there's a little bit of that. I think it was one of those things. They did it. They probably could have done more if they had chosen to. But I think the movie. I think a couple of things, and Cyber, I'd be curious to see if you agree with me on this. That kind of movie kind of died out shortly after Willow hit, because the 90s just became a totally different type of movies coming out during that time. I think if Willow comes out in the early 2000s, we probably get a trilogy out of it. But
Yes.
I think Willow was a victim of really kind of a changing in the style of movies in the 90s as it came out of the late 80s, and to just not having that bigger box office success that they were hoping for out of it. But I think those were the two biggest factors in the reason why we didn't get any follow-up on Willow until now.
And Ari, you have to understand, man, this is a generational thing too. The film industry was a lot different in the 80s and the 90s or the 70s than it is now. There was no like all-out desire to make everything into a trilogy back then. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't the must-have thing that you had to do with something. Like it is now. Yeah, that Cyber knows what I'm talking about, right? Cyber, that wasn't the end goal to everything back then.
The end goal to what, sir?
Everything wasn't about being a trilogy back then in the 80s and the 70s and the 90s and whatnot and everything. Like that wasn't the angle of like making it.
Oh no, a lot of films. I mean, some films were set to be a set number of films. Now, Star Wars, to talk about here, since you brought that up, basically how that worked was Lucas had a specific story he had come up with on the whim, and he decided to make it into 3 films at first. Now, the other extensions, such as the prequel trilogy, the sequel series that they just did in the 2000s to 2015 to 2019, those all came after the success of the first original 3 trilogies. Now, Lucas was involved with all 9 films, but he only really was super focused on the 6 that we originally got before Disney made these other new films. But in general, most movies don't have a sequel in mind unless the director or the writer of the film actually had an extended story that he had written out that he cut to a certain point to make just one film. So, for example, would be Back to the Future films. Now, Robert Zemeckis, or I forget who actually wrote the films, they actually had written out a trilogy right out the get-go, and they made 3 films. So that's a perfect example of that. But with Willow, I don't believe there ever was any other story they were going to do with this. And it just happens to be that because of its cult following, they decided to extend it and give us this TV series. And just like those books that Kyle mentioned, somebody was a huge fan. That writer of the X-Men series must have been a huge fan of the film, decided to write those stories to kind of extend the story itself.
Yeah, I know there was a point where they tried to make those books movies, and it just could never really get off the ground because of some legal rights and things like that. And Claremont's notoriously hard to work with on converting a comic project to a TV project. But and it was probably even worse with a novel he had written. But I know Lucas had greenlit those novels. But yeah, I think it's just a combination of Willow just was written to be a one-off movie, and that was the idea on it. And then, like I said, as it's gotten a cult following, and we are now in a land of everybody's looking for content for their streaming channels. Let's take something that's a known name and has some popularity, and we have the license to it, so let's do something with it.
And Ron Howard directed it. Ron Howard directed the original film. How about that? You know, and to your point, Kyle. Look at the Halo series. That was the opposite. That was the opposite effect. It was something that we all wanted, but Paramount just threw it up there, and it ended up being kind of a joke, to be honest with you. But hey, so Ari, do you have any final thoughts on the episode, brother?
Like I liked the first episode. It was not bad. It was it would take a lot of time to grow, I guess, to something that I would recommend to more people to watch. But yeah, it was nice. It was nice, something original.
All right, let's get some ratings around the table here. I'll start off. I'll go to you, Kyle, Cyber, and then you, Ari. I'm gonna give it a 6, a 6.25. Just to be nice, I'll give it a 6.25. What do you got, Kyle?
To me, it's a 6. I think that it was a little bit better than average, but I think there was a lot of aspects to it that need some work to improve on. They've got 8 episodes of this series to do that, so let's see what they do. But this felt a lot to me like a lot again when we had that run of like young adult books going, like when Hunger Games got real popular, and then they tried to do a bunch of different series like that, and it had a lot of that feel to it. The Elora Danan reveal was just, I think, really what knocks it down for me. That, and I gotta throw this in. Whatever music choice they made for the closing credits was a horrible choice. It's so modern.
I liked it.
It doesn't fit everything else when you have this beautiful score you can pull from. I love the art that they did, but the music choice for the closing credits was terrible.
Oh man, now you hurt my feelings there, Kyle. I enjoyed that shit. I like that, man. That's okay though. Cyber, what do you got, brother?
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. The only reason I'm giving it a 7 is because the beginning montage and the great narration at the beginning of the episode, showing Mad Mardigan, showing the brownies and stuff like that, really well done. And I'm giving it a 7 because I did like Tony Rivoli a lot. I did like a guy that plays Gore. And I thought that the action sequence was done really well. So that's why I'm giving it a solid 7.
Ari, what do you got, brother?
Like, it has some noticeable issues, but also, like being said, that I also want to know what happens next. So I would give it a 6.5 if, like, yeah, that makes sense.
That's fair. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, gentlemen, Jasmine, we appreciate you, but you're not here. So this is what we have left. This is the all-male squad. Let's do some plugs. Ari, you start, brother. Tell us about what you do on Instagram with MCU in depth.
Okay, so I actually started with I was a big MCU fan, so I would like see those movies a lot of times, and I would find these little details which I thought like no one else notices. So I made a page about it, and it blowed off. So you can go check it out. It's MCU in depth. I'm not as active as I was before, but you'd find pretty interesting stuff. We can maybe cover that later.
Most definitely.
Or something else, yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, now that we got you back on this first time, man, we're gonna get you back on again. Believe me, I'm gonna get you on some Marvel stuff. I guarantee you.
Yeah.
But Kyle, thank you very much, sir, for having me and Cyber on recently and whatnot. And I'll tell you, we had a good time. We both enjoyed ourselves with you. And tell us what you have going on for the next couple of weeks. What's going on with your different podcasts, with the network?
Well, of course, it's the Fandom Podcast Network. You can find it at fpnet.podbean.com or search for it on YouTube as well. Fandom Podcast Network. We just cover everything that's going on in fandom right now. Some of the big things that are happening. We just kind of had you guys on to discuss Phase 4 of the MCU on our True Believers podcast. We're having a little fun with some flashback films and a show we call Time Warp, where we pick a year of movies and look back at it and talk about those films. We're doing the movies of 1982 right now. So that's been an interesting one because you had a lot of cult classics in that point as well. But we just cover everything in fandom. We've got some big stuff going on right now. We're gonna have a little fun with the Marvel Holiday Special with the Guardians of the Galaxy that just came out. I will be doing something with Avatar. I haven't fully figured that out yet. I got to see if I can stay awake through the entire film. 3 hours and 10 minutes is long for a movie, but other than that, just trying to have a little bit of holiday fun too and enjoy that. We'll be talking about Willow ourselves there as well. But yeah, we've always got something going on over at the Fandom Podcast Network.
Cyberneticshark, my friend, you want to close this out? What you got? What's going on with the individual solo content of Cyberneticshark these days?
Well, thank you. Well, I just want to say thank you to Kyle and Art for being on tonight. You guys were fantastic. But for my solo content, anybody is checking it out, definitely check it out on YouTube. I've been currently doing my shorts, like I have said previously. I just recently did all the Star Wars films, including the 2 spin-offs, the prequels, Solo, and then, of course, the Rogue One. I just recently did those for shorts. For my other content, I am currently working on editing like a zillion, bazillion, gazillion videos to put out there of many different types of things, trailer reactions, unboxings, actual movie reviews, so like that. We'll be seeing those up short next few days and throughout the next several weeks. I'll be putting stuff up finally. I just have to get them finished and edited so they can be uploaded. But yeah, I'll be doing all that kind of stuff and just working on coming up with some new ideas. Hopefully, I'll be able to do some more of my music video reactions that I've been trying to do for you guys soon. So I'll be trying to do more of those. And yeah, just keep checking out that stuff. My subscriber count is slowly pulling up there. I'm at 441 right now. So I'm 59 away from 500. So anybody that hasn't subscribed yet, definitely go check it out and subscribe. You guys rock. Thank you for getting me up there. And you guys are awesome. So yeah, be on the lookout for more good content from Cyberneticshark people.
That is right, folks. Hey, support the Bleeding Edge family here. This is the structure. This is the blood and the bones and shit of the fucking Bleeding Edge over here. I'm just hanging out over here, like half drunk. If not for Kyle and Cyber, I barely would even be able to get through the episode. So at that point, I mean, these are these people you should be like checking out, and whatnot, not me. Anyways, but no, I don't make individual content anymore, folks. Except my occasional fans appearances here and there when I'm asked to, join in and add my contributions over there at that fabulous platform. No, Mom, I haven't done that yet. I promise. Don't worry. But anyways, folks, really appreciate you. Thank you as always to everyone on all the different platforms that I'm looking at right now on my monitor. I can see all of you on Twitter, on Rumble, on Twitch. You're all there. We just can't see you on here, unfortunately. But you're all there. We appreciate you. Thank you for checking out the show. We appreciate more comments as always. That's always nice. Help us hit 8,000 subs because guess what? That's 2,000 closer to 10,000. And you know what I'm saying? I like the way 10,000 sounds better than 8,000. So hit that subscribe button. Feel free to like us if you want to. Say hello. Shout us out. If you want to collaborate, hit us up. We'd love to collaborate. In the meantime, hey, Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, I am moderating the shit out of a total freaking sweet start to finish Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, Marvel Studios panel breakdown. It's going to be a two-parter, 2 Sundays, all kinds of crazy ass people on the freaking. It's going to be dope. All right, I'm going to be handling my business. It's going to be all MCU, baby, all Marvel. What's up, Marvel fandom? We're going to get after it. And then, of course, Andor Episode 7 is next Wednesday evening at 9 Eastern, 6:35 p.m. Pacific. We'll be in Cyberneticshark. Hopefully you'll see them. And in the meantime, we love all of you and all the fandoms.
Jeffrey.
Not just MCU, Marvel.
Jeffrey, I thought we were doing
sir?
Guardian. I thought we were doing Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special next Wednesday.
Oh! You know what? I'm sorry. You know what? I apologize, Cyber.
You just muted yourself.
I was filling out my subscription to mega.com so I can fall in love or whatever. And I got thrown off for a minute. That's right, folks. We're doing the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special on Wednesday evening next week. There you go. That's what we're actually doing. Thank you, Cyber. I apologize, folks. These porn or whatever these attractions are very interesting to me, so I can't help myself. But God bless all of you. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time. Take care.